What's news, Artifact? This is Artifact News, bringing you episode number 15, Space Pod Burning, the Exodus. This is it. This is the third part of a three-part miniseries about space pod burning in general. And, this has been an entire year's worth of work and speculation and hypification and frustration, just like all of it. Just a lot of emotions, an emotional roller coaster. But here we are, we finally landed it. And I'd have to say that I think they crushed it. And, I think it's just, everyone is so excited at this point that it's going to be hard for the team to deliver on all of the expectations out here. I think from a backseat driver's perspective, it's just easy to say what they obviously should have known or what they should have focused on and those kinds of things. But it's just, I'm sure when you're in the throes of trying to create all of that stuff and what is highly complicated and technical as it all is, just to make sure that you can actually land it and not drop a major ball. Whether some weird security risk or some huge plot hole or, just not delivering and really dropping a crazy ball. Here, there was definitely some things they could have done better for sure. And the community did a really good job in pointing that out, and just expressing their concerns. And, some people got a little toxic with it, but there was some actually really great critical or constructive criticism that was measured and really well put. I would like to thank Sir Snapback, and he expressed some criticism but just did it in a very measured way that just shows the frustration, but just in a very logical, well put way, that's easy to digest and maybe easier to make moves based on. So yeah, the community did a good job in voicing their concerns. And to be honest, we haven't heard too much from the team at this point. So there's this weird kind of waiting game right now where we don't really know exactly what's going on here. Is it a good sign that we haven't heard from him? Is it a bad sign that we haven't heard from him? I don't know. I personally don't really care either way. The one cool thing about having your heart broken 1.5 million times waiting for video game consoles and video game releases and stuff is that you just get really, really callous and hardened to all of it. This all happened back in the day with video games. It hasn't been forever that console gaming was a huge thing. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, still brand new, still so many different improvements being made, right? It was a lot like this industry though, because the video game industry, I swear to God, they're on the same kind of vibe, because the fans in video games are just as ferocious. And it's weird too, because in NFTs you would think that they're way more ferocious, right? Because it has to do with money and it's their money on the line and stuff, right? But for video gamers, it's about time. And hey, the more I looked into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and stuff, the more I started to realize really, money really is time. It's time plus energy. And if you really start thinking about it like that, then things become a little bit more clear. But so anyway, not to digress, video gamers, they didn't want you to mess with their time. They wanted to know, when's the new console coming? When's the next Super Mario gonna hit? I want to know all the details. I want to know if I'm going to get excited about this or not, if I'm going to spend my time getting excited about this or not. And they were ferocious and completely unforgiving. And anytime any video game company made any mistake, everybody was all over them in really harsh, crazy ways. So like, it's kind of the same thing for me here. And you know, there were so many delays back in the day with video games, you know, especially Nintendo's like famous for it. You know, and when you're waiting on something as critical and like as amazing as Legend of Zelda or Super Mario, you know, both that always knock it out of the park. When you're waiting on that and then it gets delayed by like 7 months, you're just completely distraught and like ready. You're freaking out. Okay. So, and that happened like every year, it felt like, in video games. So after a while, you just get super hardened to it. And it's just like, hey, listen, the stuff's not easy. There's all kinds of ways that huge, crazy balls could be dropped. And the team really spends a lot of their time just trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. And you just have to be patient, super patient. And it just pays off, you know? And honestly, you can't, if you stress the team out like to the critical situation, it's just not going to be good for anybody, you know? But with that said too, it can't all be one way. It can't all be, this is what the community needs to do to make this better. Clearly, it needs to be the other way too. You know, like what happened here? There's a disconnect. You know, like even in that last video, the Signal video, I was already a little worried about that 20 by 20 ship, you know? Hey, to be honest, like, because it was like, okay, is that going to be justified? Because that's a 40 pod ask. That's 20 space pods and 20 loot pods. That's a pretty small ship there. You know, it's going to have some like pretty serious utility to justify that. And, you know, like, if these pods were just going to be bigger versions of what we've seen before, and they're just going to have more spots for NFTs, that just wasn't going to be received very well. So I don't know. It's honestly pretty simple at the end of the day. It all comes down to connection. And can the team show the community that they know the community? And that's kind of what it comes down to. So there were some expectations coming into this. I mean, honestly, like if you were in the vibe, like in with Discord, and if you're in like a lot of these chats and you're talking to people and stuff, you kind of get a vibe for what people are expecting. So like when something comes out and it's just not on that vibe, it kind of just feels like they're not listening. And, you know, like if you've ever had a conversation with somebody who straight up is not listening to you, you're looking for the door, you know, 2 seconds into that conversation. So, but, you know, I don't think Artifact's really doing that. I think we all have to, it's just this come together situation where people have to meet in the middle. And that's, for me, that's what Web3 really, the promise of it is about. It's about the collector and the creator coming together and sharing value in ways that they'd never shared value before. So it's kind of all brand new. And I think we have to be a little forgiving here because like we're just paving the path together. And it's not easy. And, you know, it's your choice whether to be here or not, you know, and I don't know. I mean, for me, it's going to be worth it. You know, I had to suffer through a lot of video game drama when people were saying it was a waste of your time, and when every politician in the world was trying to ban it, and you know, when a lot of the games would come out and they just wouldn't be as good as you would think, and whatever. Like, you have to pay the dues, and you have to have the vision to just know like where ultimately it's going to go, and what position do you want to be in when it gets there. So it's going to take some conviction and stuff, but you know, you also have to analyze, like, if you're super crazy stressed out about it, like maybe you're over leveraged, like maybe you're too far in or something, and you don't want to stress yourself out to the max, you know? So you have to do whatever is going to be healthy for you, and you know, be able to adapt or deal with whatever you got going on. So now personally, like, how did I feel about all of it? I was super pumped. Like, I didn't expect those 3 videos to come out and that kind of lore, like to the level that it already looks like it's kind of ready for TV or movies or whatever. Like, I didn't expect that level of production value first, you know. And I don't know, I'm just excited about where it could go. I like this idea that the land is now airborne, and it's flying now. You have flying land, which is, I think, pretty cool and innovative, because that land can go anywhere. It can go on all these different planets and stuff. And okay, so that might just sound like straight up lore driven and kind of sci-fi, right? But it's pretty cool, even from an investment standpoint, because these space pods and loot pods, in a way, you can kind of think of them almost as like vacation investments or something, you know, some kind of like a vacation property or something that maybe is going to increase in value, possibly can earn you also passive income, and then also the value of it can raise. Okay, so if you're looking at it like, how do these space pods and loot pods compete with a vacation property that you could purchase? Well, I mean, there's a cost-benefit analysis. It's kind of it's pretty long, you know, it's pretty in-depth cost-benefit analysis that you could do right there. But I think one of the benefits is going to be that this land is portable and can be taken all over the place, different planets and stuff. So can you do that with a vacation property, an in real life vacation property? No, you can't. You can't take it anywhere. It's there. Okay. So that's a cost, and it's a benefit for the space pods and loot pods. Now, granted, the vacation property, you and your family can literally live in there. So, I mean, that's a huge benefit, right? Can't live in the space pods or loot pods yet. Is that going to happen? I don't know. But I think, anyway, it's an innovative type situation for me. It was more innovative than what I thought was going to come. So I'm happy for that. What else? So crazy high production value. Another little innovation with this ability to have portable land. But then I'm like really excited because it looks like this land, or these space pods, could eventually settle in a solar punk city in a new planet somewhere. And I don't think you can just write it off right now. I don't think you can just say, well, that's it. These aren't that great. These are space pods and loot pods. And listen, you don't know what's going to happen when those things do land in a city. If they land in a city. I mean, I don't know that. I'm just kind of speculating, but just that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, that they're going to land in the city. And then what does that mean? I mean, I don't think anybody knows yet. What if they land in the downtown part of the city? Okay? So it has great proximity, just like you would in a normal downtown, you know, downtown New York or whatever. That property value is super expensive because it has proximity to all of these great restaurants and services, and, you know, just good proximity to things you want to be close to. What if your space pods end up in a downtown somewhere? And it matters because there's some kind of a game going on in which being downtown is a big deal. I mean, that could be a big deal later on. It's hard to price that in right now, or even make any kind of value prop decisions based on that. But for me personally, and I'm not saying you should do this, but for me, that's kind of exciting because that's an unknown, it's a mystery. And for me, it seems logical that this land is going to end up in a city. And if Artifact is smart, they will make sure that that's worth it. That it's good that you have your space pod in downtown Solar City, and it's going to be a big deal for you. You know, that's how you bring value to your holders, and, you know, that's a good thing in general. So, you know, whale.swoosh had an amazing. He's just been on fire with the threads lately. I want to give you props, and he's been killing it. And you know, he had some really good threads about how important it is that the main collection and that your holders, that you're providing value to the holders. You know, and that's always just a complex puzzle that I'm sure Artifact's always trying to figure out. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm excited. Could some things have been different? Would I have liked to seen some things be different? I don't know yet. I can't even say really 100% that I would have hoped that it would have been any different just yet. I can't say that because I don't really know. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in the rest of this video. Okay, this has been a super long monologue here, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of complexity out here. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, if we want to be a really great community, which I think we can be, we got to think like gamers. And I don't just mean video gamers. I mean just like game theory strategists. Okay? And we can do something weird or different than most communities are willing to do, and that is come together, man. Not everybody's willing to do that. The creators and the collectors coming together, understanding each other, having a good relationship, a good, healthy relationship, that could mean everything. Not every community is going to be willing to do that. We can do that. We can game theory this out and just do what the hardest thing to do is, and that is have a good conversation. You know, listen, talk in equal amounts, have a healthy relationship. So that's all I can hope for. But we're going to dive in. We're going to check out the video. We're going to look at some tweets. And we're just going to kind of analyze the whole situation, have a little fun here. So, hey, let's dive in. All right, so let's just dig into how that day unfolded and all of the cool information that dropped and everything. I mean, we started off with just this amazing leak of information from OX Angel ETH, which they just did such a great job in extracting all of this information from the contract and really just blew all of our minds because, I mean, we saw like the pictures of the ships and we saw like this part of the contract, you know, specifically it was talking about hibernation and incubation and a hibernation capsule and an egg incubator. So then we're all expecting that in the pod but just like huge information drop, like moments before all of the drama kicked off. And, you know, honestly, Ben was even pretty cool with it because OX Angel was like, hey, I hope you don't hate me for this. And Ben was like, hey, you killed it, whatever. Can't hate on that. So it was just kind of a cool situation. It was a little lore for the day, which I appreciated for sure. It added some excitement, definitely. So thank you for that, OX Angel, ETH. So then that led to this tweet right here. And this was just the big tweet in the sky that we had been waiting for right here, right? And the Exodus, which took us to exodus.artifact.com, which is really, they did such a great job on this website. I don't know if you have had a chance to check it out. We will be taking a look at that. But I want to analyze this tweet a little bit more because this was actually a thread. So there was more to this thread than just the exodus.artifact.com announcement. And one of the things that came from it was the schematic. Just a huge piece of information right here because now look at, we can see it. Okay, there's Space Pod, Loop Pod, Exopod, and the Lux Pod. Okay, so that's all official now. And also, we got all of the information finally. So we can look a little closer at that. And let's do that. So I'm actually going to take myself off here for a second. Okay, so we got the Space Pod. Now, we can go through every single one of these, but I'm just going to give you the gist of this really, you know. It's just like they step up in weight. And just as we predicted, they're all spaceships, and that's what the weight was all about, right? Because no one cares about how heavy your house is, but they do care about how heavy your spaceship is. Weirdly enough, the exopod, which seems huge, is the same size or same weight as the Lux pod. Not exactly sure how that could be the case, other than if there's some serious armor or something that the Lux pod has, because it seems much smaller. Okay, so they have different drives, different engines. The space pod and loop pod. Yeah, as you can expect, the Lux pod has the Edge drive, which is the superior engine in all cases. So different secondary drives. We'd have no idea what that really means. The speed, as you can see here, the max speed 2c/n. Okay. Well, I'm not a physicist or anything, but like I'm not exactly even sure what they're necessarily measuring there. That doesn't matter. What matters is space pod and loop pod travel at the same speed. The exopod's a little bit faster, and the Lux pod's faster than that. Okay, so what does that mean? This is one of the biggest question marks of this whole thing. How does that matter? What kind of value does that bring to the Lux pod? I mean, clearly, okay, it's faster, but like, we know why and how that matters in real life. How is that going to matter in this situation right here? So that's one thing I personally would like to know a lot about. Then here we go with the next section, hibernation speed and incubation speed. So you can see, and now this is odd for me, right? If you look at the space pod, the incubation speed, it looks like it has a incubator. So the space pod has an egg incubator, where I would think that the space pod has a hibernation chamber, because that's kind of like the residential where you live spot. And then it looks like the loop pod is the one with the hibernation chamber, which kind of struck me as a little bit odd, because we honestly were predicting that the loop pod would have incubation station in the circular area upstairs in the loop pod. So for me, it was just kind of a little, mix matched there. But anyway, either way, exopod and Lux pod, exopod with superior speed in both of those categories, and the Lux pod with maximum speed. Okay, so right here, the max speed, how does that factor in? Hibernation speed, incubation speed. Why do we care about those? Like, what are those doing in general? I mean, hibernation speed, I'm not exactly sure from physics standpoint what that means. How you can sleep faster, you can hibernate more quickly, get in and out of hibernation more quickly. I'm not sure how speed would matter in that terms, or incubation speed. Now I could imagine why incubation speed would matter, because if there was a way to speed up an incubation process, then you could speed up the rate at which something could hatch. That would be a very huge deal. Okay. But now the next ones are, placeholders and portals, and we've seen those before. It's cool technology from OnCyber. I believe the placeholders, I could be wrong here, but I believe the placeholders are about the NFTs and, being able to placehold those all over your ship so that you can, decorate your ship, which is important. And then the portals, that's like ease of just use, basically. It's kind of a quality of life situation where the more portals you have, the easier it is to transfer to wherever you might be transferring through portals. It means that across ships, across planets, across dimensions. I don't know how deep the portals go, but the more portals I would assume, the better. Determining the value prop based on these kinds of metrics is a little tough too, because like, for instance, the loop pod has 7 portals. I believe because of the upstairs section, right, in the loop pod. There's all those portals there. So how much is that gonna matter? And is that gonna drive pricing or cost? And placeholders, how much is that gonna matter? I mean, like the loop pods winning here on a couple of fronts. Like the placeholders, there's 100 of them. The portals, there's 7 portals. It's kind of outdoing the exopod and definitely outdoing the luxopod in terms of like your ability to decorate it. Also, your ability to port or to hit the portal. Okay, so then now this last section, hibernation capsule and egg incubator. Now, this one was a big surprise for me, and there's a lot of questions around this right now. This is kind of one of the biggest questions out here. And I don't know, it may have already been answered at this point. I think there's a lot of community members that think this has already been answered. That really the hibernation capsule and the egg incubator really are just about lore and not really serve a functional purpose in terms of creating value for you as somebody who owns an egg incubator or a hibernation capsule. It's more something that has to do with a lore functionality. Okay. So I don't know. For me, I'm just being patient again. Like, I don't know how that's going to roll out or how that's going to affect anything in the future. Maybe that's a big deal. But I will say, personally, I was expecting, the Lux pod to have more hibernation capsules or more egg incubators, or the exopod, to have more also, right? Okay, so the logic would be if the Lux pod takes 20 space pods and 20 loop pods. Okay, so like if you're imagining like you're a clone or you're a holder and you have 20 clones. Well, you got 20 space pods and you got 20 loop pods. Okay. Now you're going to combine those and you're going to create this Lux pod, the Cutlass. Okay, well, now if each of your clones need a hibernation capsule, well, you just traded 20 space pods and 20 loop pods for something that only has one hibernation capsule. Also, if you had 20 clones, for instance, you also got 20 animus eggs. Well, if you only have one egg incubator, does that matter? I think we're going to get more information. We'll find out. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. Maybe there's no reason to worry about how many egg incubators or capsules that you have. There very well could be zero reason to worry about that. So to worry about it or not to worry about it, either way, like we just don't know. So there's no sense in like getting too fired up either way because we don't know just yet exactly what that means in terms of value. They have said it's only about lore, but we don't know necessarily what that all means straight up. You can guess what that means, but no one exactly knows. Okay. So that's just a breakdown of the schematic right there. I don't know. It's really cool. I'm glad that they have the schematic. It's really fun to look at. But what are we going to really derive from it just yet? We can definitely see that the Lux pod is the best in class in a few different ranges. But the loop pod's actually holding its own too in terms of placeholders and portals. So there's a lot going on. We can look at Jarlin's Twitter. He actually kind of went in depth on some of them and gave a little descriptions on them and stuff. But I don't know. Let's take a look at some of Ben's tweets, kind of, talking about the Lux pod and, like they worked with Ian TDR at TDR Bingo, the most legendary graphic design studio. Some of you might know for the iconic designs of Wipeout or Warp Record album covers. So yeah, Wipeout, it was a very groundbreaking game for the Sony PlayStation. I believe it was only for the Sony PlayStation. I could be wrong, but I think it was. And they had great looking ships, and it was a super fast game. It was kind of Sony's answer to F-Zero for Nintendo. But it was great. It was super fast. It was groundbreaking, and it was a big deal. And they designed the ships for it. So, this has been merging worlds again and finding talent, iconic talent, to work with Artifact. And he's done it again here by getting the designers of the Wipeout ships to design the ships. And I think they probably collaborated with Yarlin on it. I mean, Yarlin might have done the actual 3D of the ship, and they may have done the graphical design on the outside. I don't know how the collaboration went, but either way, they worked together, and that's pretty cool. Ben was definitely fired up about it. I thought another thing that was pretty cool that just kind of got my imagination going here with Ben was like more close-ups of the Lux Pod, the skin designed. Okay, so the skin was designed by TDR. It looks like it was just the skin. So Yarlin probably designed the ship then, or somebody on the team. I don't want to take credit away from whoever did it. The thing I liked about this tweet, I look forward to join the other pirate members. And then I was like, that might be kind of cool, right? Because like if there's only like 100 of these things, and they're kind of like pirate ships in a way or something, and there's like this little community of people that have this ship. That seemed kind of cool. I don't know. I like that. I like that thought. Got the mind racing there. So let's take a little bit closer look at the actual ship. So these are some of those pictures a little more blown up. And yeah, it's a cool design. I like it, and I'm sure it'll probably even grow on me more over time. I like this view right here in particular. The skin does look really cool. That's a great view right there. It has a lot of promise in terms of functionality. It could be a huge deal. I mean, 4 C/Ns versus 3 C/Ns in terms of speed. What is that going to mean? Like, how big of a deal is that? Like, let me give you some off the top. Like, what if we are going to eventually take these ships and land them somewhere and get land? What if it's like first come, first serve, and if you have one of these ships, you get to pick your plot of land first? I'm not saying they're doing that, okay? Please, don't go buy this ship because you think you're going to get first spot on the artifact land. I'm trying to say, if you get real creative with how speed could be a factor, you can think of all kinds of ways to provide value with speed. This thing's a lot faster. What does that mean? If the hibernation chamber and the incubation chamber are both at maximum speed, if those really are going to play in here and affect your animus, or it's going to affect, if there is some kind of staking mechanism or something for your clone, like if the speed matters, which we have no idea, it could be a deal. What kind of deal? I don't know. But either way, seems pretty cool. So before we move on past all of that, I wanted to take a look at the actual new website. I really liked it. I think it's really cool. And my screen isn't exactly adjusted for this right now, so bear with it. But, if you haven't been to the site yet, go check it out. How do you get there? Go to Artifact Twitter and find the link there. That's the best way to do it. I could say I'm going to leave a link in the description, but I don't like to leave links. I don't think anybody should leave links. I don't think you should follow links. There's too much at stake all over the place. I would say just go to Artifact on their Twitter, follow that, go to their Discord, follow the Discord. How do you get to the Discord? You go to Artifact Twitter, You make sure it's the right Twitter first, because there's a lot of fake Artifact Twitters. If you want to know what the real Artifact Twitter looks like, okay, it has this little gold thing here, and they got 389,000 followers, and it's at RTFKT. Let's just zoom in here real quick. So it's at RTFKT, and there's their Discord link. So once you have those two, you're kind of set. So yeah, go to Artifact and then go find this site and check it out. There's a lot really going on, and it's super cool. I'm not going to read you all of the text and everything. If there's anything that's super, super important here, I will. I mean, I can't tell you if it's important necessarily or not, but yeah. But here's kind of a little bit of the meat and potatoes of it is the actual fleet. There's a space pod. It looks great. I mean, look at this website too, by the way. Look at how clean and functional this is. Looks great, man. I get fired up when I come here and check this out. This is the loot pod cruiser. It's really cool. Love this one. It's very, very. It's not very. It definitely has some design language of the famous ship, now called the Boba Fett spaceship, I believe it's what it's now called. So there's some design language from that, but it's different enough. It's pushing it enough. I love the color scheme. Yeah, I mean, I really love the branding. I guess I would wonder, if you are in, these clones, they're flying around and stuff. Would they have a Clone X badge on the ship? Do they know themselves as Clone X, and does their community inside that lore have branding and they put it on their ships? I don't know. That was one thing I was kind of wondering, but that's just some weird lore thing that I'm thinking. Yeah, so that one's huge. I honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if this was the one that was 20 by 20 and the other one was 2 by 2. Okay. You might be thinking the same thing too. But then I was kind of thinking about it a little bit. Let's just go into this one for a sec. Or we can watch the video. We'll just have it going. Okay, so why have the EXO? Why have the EXO be the one that's two loot pods and 2 space pods? Why not have that be the 20? Well, that makes more sense because more people can get the 2x2, and there's more to do inside of it. It's a 4-level situation, and it's a good thing, I believe, that the community could actually partake in this without, because not very many people are going to have the Lux pod. So I guess what I'm saying is it's a good thing that the majority of the community is going to be able to get in there and get that EXO pod, because it's the more functional one, which means more people are going to have more fun. They made it kind of, achievable, which is, I think it was a pretty thoughtful thing to do, because if they had just done this one, if they had made this one the 2x2, then the majority of people would have had a smaller ship. So not as cool. Plus, the bigger ship allows community engagement and people to hang out in it more and all kinds of different activities, okay? Plus, this one has some legends involved in the graphic design industry, and I don't even know if they're in the graphic design industry. Please don't be offended if you're not in that industry. But designers, has some legendary designers involved in this. So it would kind of make sense that it's more expensive. It's going to be interesting to find out, does this really have serious value prop, use cases, utility? Is it really going to be just like leagues above because it's faster and it's got higher incubation and hibernation speeds? Or is this really just going to be like, you know, the luxury? It's like, yeah, it's a Ferrari. It's a type of Ferrari. Okay. Well, it's luxury because it's a Ferrari. And Ferraris are designed by amazing designers and they look sweet. Okay. I mean, Ferraris aren't more functional than most. I mean, like a Tesla Model 3 is probably faster than a Ferrari. Corvette might have better brakes. It probably could outperform it at the Nürburgring, most Ferraris. But that's not what it's all about. You know, with Ferrari, it's about the design language. And, you know, it's a little bit more balanced, you know? Like, yeah, a Dodge Challenger Hellcat is going to completely beat a Porsche, possibly, like a normal Porsche in a straightaway. But a Porsche is way more balanced. You know, it's got form and function. Like, you know, there's just all that stuff to design. Form and function, and does form follow function, or how does all that work? Is this the main value prop here that this is just a luxury pod? It's rare, and for that reason, that's why it's luxury. Or is there going to be some serious utility behind this? We'll find that out at some point. So, yeah, we're just looking through the rest of this site, which is really, I thought it was great. It has a really cool feel to it. This whole site does. So I think after this, now we do have the FAQ. And was there anything in here that I definitely wanted to talk about? There's a lot going on in here. I'm not going to read this all to you, okay? We're not going to fall asleep at the wheel here reading all of this stuff right now. But there was the aspect about the lore, hibernation, and incubation chambers. And it's right here. And I don't even know if you're going to be able to read it, but hibernation and incubation are new features and specs which are part of the lore. Okay? Part of the lore. That means part of the story. But it says new features and specs. Okay. Now, they may just be upgrading that soon. You know, changing the verbiage or something. But features and specs makes people think, okay, well, if it's got specs and there's features and stuff, maybe it is going to be something that we can use and do something with. But if it's just part of the story also, maybe not. So I think we got to hold off judgment until we find out more about all that. And not get too one way or the other with it. But, you know, if you're you got to make decisions. You got to make your own financial decisions and do your own research. This is not any kind of financial advice for me, for sure. I'm just saying, please do your own research all of the time. Okay, so, you know, without any further ado, right? Let's just get back to the old video. Here it is. Okay, wow. That was, gosh, I was so fired up when I first saw that video. You know, it's just really magical with how deep in we all are, and just like how long it's been just waiting for all of this to come together, and then to see it on this level, just like ready to go in a movie theater, or ready to go in some epic series on some, either HBO or Netflix or whatever might happen. But like, it's just really super high quality. Got me excited. So what did we learn from this? Well, we had the speculation early that the planet killer really was going to destroy Orbitar. And there it is. And we barely knew ye, right? But Orbitar 42, I wonder if that was like a little bit of a nod to Hitchhiker's Galaxy. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Where the answer to life's questions is the number 42. But, hey, the BHG, the blue-haired girl, or the blue-haired gang, she's really a great character. I think super solid character for Clone X to completely run with for the movie or whatever, like leading character. I don't know. I think it's great. What else are we seeing here? Well, there's one thing I wanted to kind of talk about, which was in that last video. Gosh, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pull it up. But in the last video about the signal, there was this point when the pods, like the purple upgrade material, was sweeping through the pods, and it was changing them from gray to different colors, multicolors. And I was just wondering, like, what does that mean? How's that gonna play into anything? Like, here it is right here. Okay. So it's coming up here at about second 46. Okay, here it comes. Well, first the upgrade. Okay, there's the egg. All right, 10 seconds. 9, 8. Here it comes. Is this a huge deal? I don't know, but it piqued my interest for sure. Okay. So on the screen, I don't know if you can even see my mouse pointer, but if you look around the edges of the screen where this purple stuff is, you can see that some pods are turning color, and you can see that they're gray. That they're gray, and that this purple stuff is turning them different colors. See, it's doing it. There's some that are green, like they're half green and half gray. But this upgrade is bringing color to the situation. And as you can see, there's a ton of colors. By the way, complete props on that design right there. That tower is so sick, and how they fit those space pods in there was just brilliant. So the colors. And, when you look at the end of this video too, you'll see that there's a bunch of different colored ships. And, when you're talking about animation, there's just not a whole lot of like randomness. If it's in there for a reason. Because somebody literally had to change the ship's color. And there had to be some kind of discussion about why are the ships different colors. And then somebody had to say, they either said, hey man, it just looks cooler. Which I don't think so. But they could have just been, it looks better. Or somebody could have been like, no, it's because they're going to be able to customize their ships to have different colors. Like there's a pink one right there flying outside of the window. I don't know. Maybe that matters. Maybe it doesn't. I could be completely goofballing right here, and the team might be like, dude, that's crazy. But just a question I had. So, yeah, other than that, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to cover. I mean, there was this moment here. I wanted to give some credit here to iBlast Off, who asked the question, a suggestion actually, to Artifact. Can we add value for long-term holders and community participants? Something like trophies or badges, similar to Pokemon. Incentivize completion of quests, community challenges, general meme moments. You have epic emblems already. Benoit actually responded to him, which was great, and said, part of the website revamp, along a lot of other features we are currently working on. Okay. That's cool. So some type of badge mechanic for collecting things. I mean, there's a ton of features coming along the way, it sounds like. But I blast off. Thank you for that question. And that was a good answer from Benoit. So that's a cool thing. And I also wanted to give some credit to Jam Pants. I don't know if you've ever played Sword and Sorcery. You know, I was going overseas for a second to do some work, and I played that game like crazy on the iPad. It's just like really cool game. The music was amazing. The whole vibe of the game is really cool. It's a pretty emotional game. I mean, when the music's playing and the whole thing, like it'll get you. So yeah, Jam Pants is just really talented, and that's the person doing the music for this whole situation. He maybe have done, I don't even know how deep Jam Pants is in, but probably has been doing a lot for Artifact this whole time. I think maybe he did the space pod extension, the first video, the first trailer for that, and I loved that music. But I love all of the music that's been coming out lately. I hope that Jam Pants, but his real name is Jim Guthrie, okay? Follow him at Jam Pants. It's Jim Guthrie. He made Sword and Sorcery, killing it with the music for Artifact. Jim, I hope you stick around and keep doing the music because you're crushing it. So for anybody who's not following him, jump in there and follow him and give some support. So yeah. Hey, so thank you for joining me on episode 15, Space Pod Burning, The Exodus. This is the end of the 3-part miniseries, and it's just the culmination of an entire year's worth of speculation, preparation, and just fun and hype and everything. And there's a lot of emotions out there. You're just going to have to do what you want to do to not stress yourself out. And hopefully you're just having fun with this. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Personally, from my perspective, we just got to be patient and just know where this is going. You know, just think about all of those, whether it's comic books or video games, you know, all the progression all through humanity. It's just always wrought with, you know, just a lot of strife and a lot of people fighting and a lot going on every time that you cross a chasm into something new. And you just have to have the vision to say, where is this going? And do I want to be there for it? And how do I want to be there for it? And if you don't, if it's stressing you out, like if you're over leveraged, you just got to rethink about things. But, you know, don't let it get to you too bad. And I hope you're having fun with everything. And like I said, thank you so much for even being here and supporting this. It really means a ton to me. Because, you know, I'm trying to get to that point where I can get monetized. We only got about 141 followers right now. Sometimes it gets a little discouraging. But it's so cool because, like, right now, like, I love the fact that you're all here. It's a tiny little community. just going to grow organically if it grows. And I'm just having fun with it. The process is fun. I love talking about Artifact. And, you know, it's just cool to be here with you doing that. So, all right. Well, what's next on the menu, right? Who knows what's coming down the pipe? We got Animus coming soon. I'm sure there's going to be more information rolled out about the space pods. We'll learn more as we go. But it's kind of exciting because it's like now we can put this behind us. We've taken this step. Now we know a little bit more where we're at. And now let's go forward and see what we got. I'm excited. Let's do this. All right, so, you know, just always remember, go news yourself. Peace.